Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, terrible. Ever since they got rid of Skype, we've been having to try and figure out how to record this stuff, and it took us an hour to do this.
It's
I am
taken a long time, a
frustrated,
lot longer than it should have.
mad,
Yes.
and angry.
Hopefully it sounds as good as it was before, and hopefully it was good before. But yes, the quality should be fine now that
Yeah.
we've got it all figured out. At least on this
In
program, it
Teams,
should be
you
okay.
can record, but oh wait, you have to pay for a
Pay
subscription.
for
Oh, okay,
everything.
no
Yep.
problem. We won't do that. Oh, Google Meets. Oh, you need to become an admin. Oh, wait, you want to become an admin? Well, let me just reload this page over and over and over and
Yeah.
over and over and over and
There's
over again
nothing
until
you can
Mitchell
do.
cries in a corner.
Yeah.
And
There's
then
nothing you can do in this situation. But yeah, I guess will bring us to the actual episode. So welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast.
like our recording issues, this episode is also a mind screw. I
That's
can't want to
true.
say
That's
that.
very
Yeah.
true. And this episode, episode 9 of season 5, The Sting, right? And yeah, please like and subscribe if you like talking all things Futurama. Yeah, The Sting. So I'm gonna be up front right now. In the original run, this is my least favorite episode of the series.
Really? Why?
Yep. Yeah, I never got into it. I think there was rewatching it now for our conversation and our review. I think there are a lot of funny scenes in the episode,
Oh,
but it has
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
to do with Leela or Fry. In my opinion, I
Well,
think
it
there are a
it
couple
does
little
for the
jokes here for Fry, but nothing with Leela. I'm just
it does
not
for the first little bit, and it does at the very end for like 30 seconds. So,
right.
but we can take subcontext from this that Leela does truly care about Fry.
That's
We
right.
can take context from that because this is how she viewed everything when she was
Yeah. Well,
in the hospital.
right, and we'll get into that as well. You know what? It's. I feel like this episode is kind of like it's well written for what it's supposed to be, I guess, because it's supposed to be this like heartfelt thing about Leela suffering her guilt and all this kind of stuff. But in the end, it's an episode that I don't really think matters much because it actually doesn't happen in the universe. It's very
Well,
similar to the All the Way Down episode of like the Hulu run. So that's and I think they're both very well made, but this one is it's just one of those things for me. So, anyways, that was my straight up opinion of this episode.
you're not
Having
wrong
yeah,
because
but having watched
it's
it,
all in her dreams, right? So none of
yeah,
it really has consequences.
nothing
And I
happens.
remember watching this and going like, "Oh, I didn't notice this before." Kind of
Mhm.
thing. And I'll bring that up and stuff like that. But the whole entire
Sure.
thing, it doesn't matter because
No,
she's
it doesn't.
dreaming about it.
Exactly. So that's why I think I find this episode just doesn't really push any of the plot towards anything, but it is a good character study on Leela, which I do appreciate. But I don't
Yeah.
think she's very funny or anything as a character in the episode. However, there are scenes that I do like, and we can talk about them, but we'll talk about it in a minute. So, opening caption: a byproduct of the TV industry. Obviously, it is. So
Well,
we open
back
up
when it was
on
good.
yeah, we open up on the Planet Express HQ, and we have Bender and Fry, well, mostly Bender, I suppose, playing virtual golf. We actually have this.
It's
I don't
not the
know.
same thing though.
No. Well, okay. So his golf ball is also virtual.
Yes.
We actually have virtual golf to the extent of you have a physical ball and the physical club, and you hit a screen, and the screen basically sends a sensor, wherever it is that will go with the distance in the virtual reality. But yes, we can't like plug ourselves in and then go and get our ball from the water or
Yeah.
something like Bender was doing. But
I think we have the same thing with soccer now. Like you hit a
yeah,
ball. It's like those punch machines. You punch the thing and it goes from like
yeah,
0 to 999 or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
And
With, with,
yeah,
with the virtual reality stuff that we have nowadays, like it's actually quite. You know what
it's
this
scary.
Well, this show obviously is set 1,000 years in the future. We are so close to what they have in this golf course
A
thing that it's
couple
weird
things,
that
yes,
they're
a couple
using
things.
it. Yeah, so it is kind of funny this way. But yeah, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, this would have been like unheard of, right? For something to be plugged into this
Well,
and go
hold on.
because I don't think they had that kind of
25
virtual
years
reality.
ago was
Yeah,
2000.
yeah,
Now I went to Disney World, yeah, in Florida in 2000,
okay,
and they had, and it's the first time, and I think the last time I tried virtual reality, right? So,
sure.
but virtual reality was a thing 25 years ago, so
But
it's
to the
not too much
extent
of a
of what
leap.
it is in this episode, it definitely was not as good. Like they
No,
literally have,
because
yeah,
like you put on this like I swear to God it was probably like 10, 15
yeah,
pounds of
it's a
like a
giant
helmet
helmet.
kind of
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
with
yeah,
a
yeah.
visor, and like it was like bad graphics, like it was like like N64 went like, oh, you're bad
Right.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It was still 3D stuff, but it wasn't N64 kind of
It was
thing.
like
But
cubic
whatever.
and cubic and like hard.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. The
yeah.
old school
It was
reality. Yeah.
Abu as like it had the little purple hat, and it was
Yeah.
monkey shaped. Yeah,
And that's how
and of
you know.
course the magic carpet was it was a flat thing. But
Right.
it so all I'm saying
Yeah.
is just that virtual. We probably had this maybe 10 years ago, kind of thing,
Mhm.
right?
Okay. But
Everything, and then just like
sure.
what's more out to the public kind of thing, right? Like who
Yeah.
wants to buy it, who is paying for it, who's making it. There's all
Yes.
those questions, and that's just for virtual reality.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. About 10 years ago, I would say in a couple of establishments that I went to, this golf thing, like the exact same thing that Bender is playing right now, they have these things almost identical to what they're doing, but I'm not
Yes,
sure if they were actually created yet. So it seems maybe they were in the process of being it, and that's where they got the idea for it, and they just futuramized it.
yeah.
But any
Well,
case,
yeah,
yeah,
because
it's
Bender plugged himself in, and he
yeah,
and
he's
he
all
pretend
angry
walked
about it.
into
Yeah.
a pond to get rid of it, and
Yeah.
then we see the professor come and saying, "Bad news,
That's
nobody."
right. That's right. And that's where, yeah, so we'll continue on here. So, yes, Professor comes in, bad news, everyone, right? A play on his good news, everyone. And he says that none of you guys are good enough to go on to this current mission that I have right now. And of course, Fry and Bender are happy because they don't have to do any work. they're,
Amen.
they're very happy about this. However, Leela pops in from the ceiling. I guess she's been working on the ship or something. So it's right in the harbor. Okay. And she says, wait, what are you talking about? What's wrong with us? Why can't we do this? And the professor, and I think you've mentioned this line or something a couple of times, Mitchell.
Oh,
The
it's
professor,
because me
yeah,
and my dad have this conversation. I'm gonna go get something, and he's like, "Just ordinary." I'm like, "This is no ordinary." This.
right, right. So the professor says the last mission that he
His
sent his
previous crew.
previous crew, not his first crew, okay? Because I
No.
always thought this was his first
Yeah,
crew. This is not
me
the
too.
case. He's had many crews apparently. His last crew before them, and it's a little bit of a goof, I guess you could say as well, because we know this from is it the pilot when we were introduced to him? He gives them the career chips, but
It said
in this
wasps on it, right?
it says wasps. In
In
this
the
case,
first
it's
one, yeah.
actually bees because the actual thing was they have to get space honey, not ordinary ordinary space
Oh,
honey.
that doesn't sound so hard. This is no ordinary honey.
Ordinary honey. So the professor has a really good line there. But in any case, the crew had died doing this mission, and they were apparently better, in the opinions of professor's opinion. They were better than his current crew. So Leela takes offense to this and says, like, no, no, no. We're just as good as your crew, if not better. We can do this mission. It doesn't sound that hard. That's the no ordinary honey thing. And they also have with them Hermes, and Hermes is explaining it like, well, bad things happen if you get stung by these bees. They can basically kill you with a single sting.
And that's if you're not allergic.
And if you're not allergic, and they have this whole thing with
I
that.
don't even want to know. Your blood turns into boiling lava. I didn't want to know.
And they do a little parody of the honeycomb cereal, I think it is. Like
Oh god,
the,
that is so like
that's
late
so
'90s,
old.
early
That
thousands.
is such a dated reference.
When was the last time you even had honeycomb
I don't even take it from the
cereal?
shelf anymore, man. Like that thing
No, I
is,
don't think so either.
yeah.
There was Post made that, not Kellogg's. Post made it,
Oh,
and I
okay.
don't think Post exists anymore. Or if
Yeah,
it does, they switched over to something else.
I haven't seen it in a long time. Mind you, I don't go looking for it, but if I ever see it again, I'm like,
No, I
okay,
guess
there
that's
it
true.
is.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it. It's funny.
I
But
actually did constantly like that one, but yeah, it
yeah,
was
I didn't
definitely
mind. It
very
was like
artificial.
honey flavored, whatever. It was fine. So they Leela convinces the others, or I guess forces the others to go on this mission, despite the fact that Fry is actually kind of afraid to go because he doesn't want to die. But in any case, they go on there and they fly off to this space beehive. Okay, and it's
Which is
basically,
actually pretty cool because
yeah,
there's like
literally
giant
what people,
flowers out in space, like on
yeah,
asteroids, which is
it's
kind of I have
literally
questions.
it's literally, if you were to say, like, imagine a beehive that's floating, a giant beehive that's floating out in space. That's
Like
literally
the
what
size
it
of the
is.
moon, we'll say, kind of thing,
Yeah,
right? Like
it's
a small
massive.
moon.
Yeah. And the ship flies in and basically lands in this honeycomb or whatever. There's bees everywhere. Now, I guess this was Leela's
CGI bees.
idea. Was that?
CGI bees.
Yes. And I think this is Leela's idea. Nothing's ever really confirmed, but Leela's idea. She basically has made Bender dress up like a bee. Okay, they put yellow and black on
She painted
him.
it
Yep.
on.
And she had him download a recorder of bee, basically bee language, which is
Because
apparently bees.
dancing.
Yeah, well, bees communicate by moving and making
Yeah.
the sounds and everything. So
But
Bender
she
can
gives
now
it
do the
she
same thing.
puts the
Yeah,
it's a little
It's like her
cassette tape.
cassette
It's a
tape. Yeah.
cassette tape. But yeah, they put it in his mouth. I think right. That's how he
It's in the
always
back of his neck, but yeah,
back of
it's
his
like
neck. Okay.
some kind of like cassette recording thing. So Bender just has all these little features that we just see
Again, it's a
every so
future
often.
thing. I love that they used old tech in the future. Like
Yes.
here, let's play this VHS or sorry, not VHS. This music cassette thing in the back
Yeah.
of a Bender's neck. I love stuff like that.
Yep. And he just downloads it, and that's how he gets his language there. So it's all good. So Bender's out there, Leela and Fry are out there, and they're all just pulling this hose through this, honeycomb. And of course, we have the bees kind of getting a little weirded out around them. So they come down, and Bender distracts them by, doing his buzzing and all this kind of stuff. So little jokes here and there. Yeah, exactly. So they, as they're walking through, they discover the old crew's ship crashed in there, and the former black box, and the black box has a little bit of conversation between the crew members, and the crew captain of that ship apparently was very similar to Leela and said something very similar to what she had said before they left. And
The
they
professor's
basically
right. We're not as good as his last crew.
crew.
So there's three right there,
There's at
but
least
there's also
three.
the first one, which we
The
see in
first one
the
was the fourth one. Yep. Or sorry, the first one, of course, was like the original one, and then there must be at least three. So who knows how many other ones there have been, right? Oh, and
yeah.
there was funny, because the professor seems to be really good at this. Remember what episode was that? I'm trying to remember what episode, but the three of them had disappeared for something, and the professor was already lining up a new crew.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
like, "Oh my god, you're alive!" What episode was that?
Contact me next week.
Yeah,
That's a very good question. I can't remember which one it was.
but
I
whatever
don't
the
know if
case,
we
yeah.
talked about it recently or we just kind of skipped
No,
over it. We never
it
talked
was a
about it.
little while ago because I remember it being if it pops back in my head, I'll remember. But people can share it in the comments if they want to. But I can't remember exactly what the episode was. But in any case, you have those three people or those three crew members. He was about to like replace Leela, Bender, and Fry, so he was really really good at like picking out new people. Any case, they continue on and they get to the area where they're going to suck up some of this honey. And as they are, the bees are still flying around. They're kind of oblivious to what's going on. Fry notices that there's also jelly. So, of course, this is known as royal jelly. This is used to feed off for the queen bee, all right, to
Yep.
give her
Yep.
nutrients, all this kind of stuff.
Same thing in real life. Same thing in real
Yep.
life. Not
Make
not
sure
just space
she's,
bees.
yeah, yeah. Make sure she's, healthy and everything to deal with everything. And as Fry is like talking about it, he accidentally falls into the jelly. And I mention this because this kind of becomes apparent later in the episode a little bit.
I can't swim in jelly. I don't think.
So Leela pulls him out. And as she does, a baby queen bee kind of floats over to him. So Leela takes a liking to it because it's a cute little bee. And she's like, oh, maybe we can take this little bee and raise our own queen. And that way we can make our own hive and our own honey. We never have to do this dangerous work again. Now, Fry's like, that doesn't sound like a great idea, but okay, maybe you're the captain, whatever. So he kind of goes along with it. And then we have Bender basically insulting everybody because he's insulting the bees, but he's buzzing as he does it, thus alerting them to his insult. And then he insults their queen.
No, hey, what is it? I'm sick and tired of shaking my fat booty for these fat jerks. Or
Yeah,
no, he doesn't say his fat booty, just my booty for these fat
that
jerks.
jerk.
Hey, no, I wasn't talking about you guys. I was just talking about this one fat lady.
So it's
That's
hey,
our
he insulted
queen.
our fat queen.
Yeah, they're insulting our fat queen. Hey, you try to keep your figure after 9,000 million
Yeah,
kids or whatever it was.
yeah. And so the bees are now alerted and they start attacking them as they start running out. And actually, no, they don't run out. Rather, Leela, again, a brilliant captain, she decides like, no, this is the way we do better than the previous crew, and we survive. So she hits a button, and she and Fry basically take their they get jetpacks, and they just basically burst out of there. While Bender
Except
is being flown out
Fry.
with the bee. Yes, Fry's jetpack is upside down because he's an idiot. But in any case, he's still safe. He still flies up. But Bender, unfortunately, he doesn't have one, but he's on the bee anyway, and the bees are chasing them. So he's
Yeah,
getting out on his own way. Yeah,
the queen bee tried to stab him with the stinger, but he dodged and just grabbed a hold of it. And then she started trying to shake him off, but he's holding on for dear life, kind of thing.
exactly. And she even does that right when they get into the ship, and Bender pops out. He's like, I'm back, baby. And he shoots into the ship as they're already in there. And wouldn't you know it, it closes off. They're able to fly off and take off without any of the bees hurting them. Yay, we're all good. Now, reminder, Leela has been carrying said baby queen bee for a little bit, and they got to the ship there, and the bee suddenly gets angry, flies up after they're kind of distracted, and it flies up, and I guess you could say it stings.
It lances.
Sure, lances. That's a good verb for that. Actually, lances through Fry and slightly hits Leela against the wall or whatever. Bender grabs the bee, throws it into some kind of like discard
Shoot.
chamber and shoots it out into space. I love this little gag actually. And the bee like floats into space and the truck comes and hits it.
A big truck hits the giant ass bee.
And you hear like the honking. I don't know why. Just like there are elements in this episode that I do actually really like. I think there's a lot of like laugh out loud moments for me, but it's just the episode I don't really like that much. So, in any case, Leela Leela gets up. She's like, "Oh, that's not really that big of a deal,
This is a
whatever."
boo boo at best.
And she looks over, and Fry's not moving. Fry's lying dead. He's actually dead from the stinger. Something has finally killed Fry, and Bender and Leela are heartbroken.
Well,
So,
here's my first issue.
yes,
Since
go
it's a
for it.
queen bee
Yeah.
in real life, and which I know this is not real life, the queen bees don't have a barb on their stinger, so they can consistently sting someone
Mhm.
until they drop dead for whatever reason.
Okay.
But their stinger isn't barbed, so it doesn't like with when a bee stings you, the barb sticks in and it kind of rips out the bee's inside, which is a total
Which is why it
weird
kills it, right? Yeah.
nature flaw in the bees of design.
Right.
But queens don't get that. So the stinger shouldn't have technically broken off here. So that's just
Mm.
my one kind of like, yeah,
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah, because the stinger is stuck in Fry, right?
it's stuck in fry. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, fair enough. I think maybe because it was a baby and it was like really easy to snap off in that regard. Who knows?
Again,
But
it's a space bee. They're end of the
yeah,
cartoon.
it's supposed to
Their
be it.
biology
It's a
can work
cartoon.
different. Yeah.
Exactly. So we cut to Fry's funeral, and wouldn't you know it, they're having it at Orbiting Meadows, which we haven't seen since Luck of the Fryrish. This is where Fry's
Nephew.
nephew is buried, the hero of the time. So we go there and we have many returning characters,
Yes,
returning
it's
faces.
quite a
I'm sure you and I
sorry.
we can talk about a few of these. Like we have the water people from like the third or the fourth episode of the series, like the whatever they're
Yeah.
called, the when Fry was an emperor, right? They a
Yep.
couple of them showed up, so it's kind of cool. They're paying their respects to
Seymour's
him.
body is there.
Yep.
I love it too because
Seymour the
it's leaned
dog's body,
against.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
His fossilized body is leaned against,
yep.
which I was like, I didn't because I didn't really pay attention to like the details of this, but now that because we're watching it through,
Mhm.
Gunther, the talking
Gunther,
monkey, is
yeah, the
also here.
monkey. Yeah,
I
he just
didn't
doesn't
notice that
speak.
before. I
Yeah,
literally just noticed this today after watching this for 20 years. I'm like, oh, he's
there's
there too. I
Gunther.
didn't
Yeah,
know that.
Gunter's there, and yeah, Gunter and the two I'm forgetting their race name or whatever. The pizza aliens, the ones that would lived across the street. They played Blurns Ball.
Oh,
Signoids, the Signoids. Yeah,
Signoids,
the
yeah.
two Signoids that own the pizza shop. They're both there, and obviously,
So
yeah, we have
it's
yeah,
almost kind of like Over the Wild Green Yonder with a crowd shot. This
yes.
is just a little more like dealing with
This is
Fry.
more specific to Fry, actually. And we have what's his name? The guy who's like, farewell from the world of tomorrow, right? Because we actually get him named in one of the episodes because Leela tells him to
Oh
shut
yeah.
up. Charlie or something or Gary, I can't remember, but
I,
yeah.
I, th-
Any case,
I'm looking at the characters. And it says in alphabetical order, so I don't know what his name is. I
oh
probably could go through.
Terry, that's his name, Terry.
Yeah,
Shut up,
Terry,
Terry. That's
Terry. Yeah,
yeah.
shut up, Terry. Yeah, there
So
he is.
he's there, and this is something I think you mentioned this to me, and I didn't know that I didn't notice this at first, like way back when we first started the podcast, and we were talking about this episode slightly, like not when we first started, but like a few seasons in.
It's been mentioned.
You mentioned this scene, so we have one of the Amazon women from the Amazon Women in the Mood there saying like, "Oh, he did good, snoo snoo," and
Cug.
then we have his previous girlfriends or like people he slept with over in the back, and they're all like, "Eh." Whatever. We have Michelle,
Petunia, yeah.
Petunia, apparently.
The
Like we never
old lady,
saw this
the
before.
ones that have been to
Yeah,
Nutley.
yeah. Petunia's there.
The
What's her
carrot
face?
one. Also one that was also
I was okay. So I
frozen.
was gonna confirm this with you. So this is the same girl who's like, oh, you remember when carrots took over? No, not carrots. There's something else that
Yeah,
took over
there's a
the
couple
earth.
people that have said carrots or something like
Yeah,
that.
but yeah, she was another frozen one, right? And then he's like,
Yeah.
hey Bender, go see a saucy puppet show or something. I need the apartment, right? Yeah, that was her. And then from how
Oh,
Hermes
I can't
requisitioned
remember her
his
name.
crew back, right? What's her face? Yeah, man, I'm
Another
blanking.
bureaucrat.
I'm blanking
The
on name. Margaret or something. No, I'm blanking on
Morgan
names.
Morgan Proctor,
Morgan. There you go. Morgan. Yeah, that's it. So she's there. And this is the thing that you mentioned, the radiator
the
from the
radiator. Yeah,
radiator
yeah.
planet.
Yeah, all he did though was make out with her though.
That's
I
true.
just
That's
I
true.
just made it over there. I made out with the radiator from the
Radiator.
radiator
That's a
planet.
normal
That's just a
radiator.
radiator. Oh,
But apparently the radiator wanted to be there. So in fact, if you think about it, so if it's just a normal radiator, because Leela's the one that told him about this, right? This is all
yeah.
happening in Leela's head. As of now, we know this.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
everything that has,
Spoilers.
yeah, this is everything that has to relate to Leela. So she's the one that knows about the radiator system, which is why that's there. If anybody else had dreamt about this, that person wouldn't have been there. And even with that Petunia thing, I feel like the only reason Petunia's there is because maybe Leela thought Fry had done something with her. We've never actually seen this before. But any case, a lot of fun, lot of fun little cameos, and they do a nice send off for Fry right after we have the all religion clergyman, right? The one for all the gods or fewer or
Well,
none.
yeah. This is strange because for like the longest time, I thought this guy was like the Pope kind of thing, right?
Oh, he's not the space pope. Yeah, space
No, I
pope
know.
Reptilian. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. When did that get first mentioned though?
the space pope.
Yeah.
Bender does a little side thing like oh, is the space pope reptilian? And I think that's
Yeah, but I
that's
swear at one point we see like a little like advert from it or something like that, and I couldn't remember if that was
oh yes,
before
we do.
because
Space pope. Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's in a commercial. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember that too. Yeah,
because the first time we
and he just
see
does a
this
thumbs up.
clergyman,
Yeah,
Father Changstein El Gamal,
right.
we see him in the Godfellas episode, which was
Godfellas.
just
Yeah.
last season for us, right? When we did it.
Was it last season? Yes, I guess it was. Yes, yeah, it was near the end
Yeah.
of last season. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, episode 4, or season 4, episode 8. Yeah,
yeah.
so that's when we saw him for the first time,
Mhm.
and like I don't think that the Pope was mentioned before that.
I don't think so either. I don't think we've seen that scene yet where it says brought to you by the Space Pope, unless it's oh
Yeah,
it might be
yeah.
it might be the episode with Bender and his, or is it the don't, maybe it's the don't date robots thing, and at the very end is like
Yep,
brought
yep.
to you by, yeah, okay.
No, no,
So
no. Hold on, sorry, I lied to you. We saw the Space Pope in I Dated a Robot, so that
I
was the
did a robot, yeah,
first
yeah. So no, I was just
episode.
gonna say, yeah, so when Fry does that, he watches Space Gonorrhea or whatever it is. Yeah, yeah. I think the episode is titled like, yeah,
However,
yeah,
the Space Pope was mentioned in Hell's for Other Robots and a Biclops Built for Two.
by
So
Cyclops
season
Filter too.
1 and
Yeah,
season 2. I mean, if this is going by the way we count the episodes and
sure,
seasons.
sure, sure, sure. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, so the clergyman is not the Space Pope. He's literally just a clergyman of all faiths and none. Right. So he does a
Yeah,
few
I
he
do
does
love
a
it.
few lines saying like this is how Fry died, this is what he felt, and people are, sad about it and everything. And we have to mention, of course, Leela's there. Everybody's there from the crew. They're all there. Minus, oh no, Scruffy's there too. He's actually playing the bagpipes. That's kind of nice. But Leela is feeling horrible. She is feeling super guilt ridden about this because it essentially was her that got Fry killed. And a very nice send off. And I think this is kind of a nice allusion to Fry's love of this particular product is Star Trek when they shoot him off. And this is basically a farewell to Spock type of thing. So this is actually kind of nice. And they do the same thing with his coffin and they shoot him out into space. Okay. So
Farewell from the world of tomorrow.
exactly, exactly. So later we find Leela at home. She's petting Nibbler and going through some of Fry's things, and she finds like this jar of jelly, right? Or not jar of jelly, rather the jar of honey, space honey, and she's going to try some of it. She says something along the lines of it might make her feel better. She tries a spoonful, does feel good, and then she tries another spoonful, and she ends up basically knocking herself out. And she dreams of Fry, who and makes her believe that, oh, he must not be dead because he's talking to me and he seems so alive. And he tells her there's like a gift or something that he's left in her locker that he
In
got
his
before
locker.
they'd gone on the mission. Oh yeah, sorry, in his locker before they went on the mission. So she wakes up from said dream. She goes, and it turns out Although at first they're a little deceived because Bender had gone through Fry's locker. But it turns out that there was indeed a gift in there. And everybody just kind of says, like, oh, well, you could have just forgot that he told you. And maybe it's not really him. So Professor decides to do some tests on Leela, right? Make sure that everything's okay. I think there's another fun little gag at the French here. So he's about to chop off her head with a guillotine. It's pronounced guillotine, as the French would pronounce it, but he calls it a guillotine. Okay,
It is
so
a guillotine.
yeah, that's how it's spelled, but it's pronounced guillotine, and everybody would pronounce it guillotine. But I'm pretty sure it's because French is not supposed to exist. He's pronouncing it the way that an English person who just reads it out of a book would pronounce it. So, anyways, I think that's a small little thing there. But, anyways, little guillotine joke, and he then is able to scan Leela very easily to figure out it actually no. Fry is not alive. He is truly dead. There's no way of bringing him back. You must be going slightly crazy. Okay. So the next night, Leela dreams of him again. Okay. Fry treats her very romantically. They're on planets and they're going on sleigh rides and they're having cocoa and he gives her his coat. And she says, oh, this must be real because nobody else or none of my dreams have ever treated me so romantically. And then Fry tells her, and he did this actually beforehand. I didn't mention beforehand, but he always tells her at the end of the dream, you got to wake up. Fry tells Leela. So she always wakes up and she's always disappointed that it turns out this is actually false. This is actually fake. So she wakes up and she finds that Fry's jacket is on her. Okay. So she runs. Well, the next day she goes to Planet Express. She pulls out, like, I have proof that Fry's alive. Turns out it's her jacket. It's in her head. She's constantly seeing that Fry is there, but it's actually not him. With that, everybody assumes that Leela's crazy, and she tells them, like, about the honey. Now, of course, the honey being the jar of the space honey that she keeps on eating every night, and she's warned that if she has 3 tablespoons of honey, she won't wake up.
She'll enter a sleep so deep she won't ever wake up.
Yes. So, as they're sitting, she's sitting on the couch, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to have a couple spoonfuls of this to whatever." And we're led to believe that she takes one spoon, takes a second spoon, and that it doesn't really work. So she's about to do something else, and she accidentally knocks the jar of jelly that happened to be
Royal
there
jelly.
as well, the royal jelly from before. And like I mentioned, Fry had fallen into this at the beginning of the episode. It hits the sofa, and out pops Fry. He basically emerges out of the jelly, and he's like a carbon copy of the exact same Fry that we know and love. So the professor does some tests on him. Turns out everything about him is the same as Fry. He has his brain waves, he has his blood, he has everything there because all of the surrounding features all had Fry and it just worked together. So everyone's so happy, they're gonna leave, and as soon as Leela says, like, oh, we're gonna have a good time because you're now alive, I don't feel guilty, Fry says, you gotta wake up. And she wakes up and she's just back on the sofa. Nothing actually happened. So it was kind of like a dream within a dream. And this is
Yeah.
kind of where
Inception.
this is kind of where the episode starts to get me a little bit because it starts becoming just neurotic. Like there's so many random things going on at this point. So,
Different characters having other voices and stuff like that.
oh, that's true, right? So next we have Leela goes into the room and she's sitting at the table, like the meeting table with everybody. They're speaking different different voices or whatever, and then they do this little song and they sing. I think
Be happy.
it's Bob Marley's "Don't Worry, Be Happy." And it's a nice little song and it sounds nice, but it's just, whatever, little bees going around. It's just showing you how much farther Leela is driving into insanity. That then she flies out, goes into space, and she's like, I'm going to go find Fry's coffin. I'm going to bring his body back and I'm going to hide it under my bed. That way I know I'm not insane. And so she's looking for
It's
his
such a
coffin.
woman thing to
Right.
say, too.
So she finds the coffin in space and she's like, okay, I'm just going to open it and find my dead friend. And she opens it and it's a void. It's a void of colorful nonsense and music and all this sound and everything.
I th- I
And then she
think that's
wakes
a
up again.
reference
It is a reference
to
to something. Yeah.
oh geez, what's that one with the robot from Stanley Kubrick? What's that one called?
Oh, A Space Odyssey?
Thank you.
We've already had like the Space Odyssey references a few times in the series. Yeah.
Well, it's one of the it's not the original like space thing, but it's an original great space one.
So at the end of this, she wakes up again and she's like, I can't take it anymore. and she decides to take 3 spoonfuls of the honey, thus basically ending it. She can't deal with the guilt anymore. So she takes 1 spoonful, 2 spoonfuls, about to take the third, and a picture of Fry starts speaking to her and stops her. Says, "No, no, Leela, you can't do this. You're stronger than this. You're better than this." And she's like, "I don't know what to do. I'm so afraid," and all this stuff. And just crazy things start happening. The crew start yelling at her from the walls. All these bad things are happening to her. And she doesn't know what to do. She's sad. And we pull out from her dream. She happens to be in a coma, and Fry is alive and well, sitting next to her bed, crying, trying to get her to wake up. So this entire episode has literally just been Fry sitting by her, and every time she's gone into a dream state in her coma, right, in her coma life, it has been Fry actually just talking to her, and that's why she's been hearing and listening to him all this time. And he never left her bedside. So Leela finally wakes up, like for reals, right? In the real world. She and Fry are super happy to be there, and you'll notice that his jacket is on her, which is why she dreamt about it being on her in that one scene as well. It's all there. The crew show up and they explain what happened, and it turns out the bee stinger definitely went through Fry, but the toxin and the poison ended up going into Leela, thus causing her to go into the coma. They didn't know she would be waking up. Fry never left her side. Really nice thing. And it finishes off with the two of them hugging, realizing like how much they mean to each other, and making a joke that both of them need a shower because they both haven't done anything in 2 weeks.
Well, she's been in a coma, and he's been there the entire time trying to get her out.
Watching her in a coma,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, that is the ending of The Sting. So like I said, not my least favorite episode of the series of the original series,
Yeah, the
but
original series.
of the original series, but it's not bad by any means. I think it's
Yeah.
for me it's like a 6.5, just because I think by the end it just starts losing track. Like I think this is an episode that
Well, that's the
probably
whole
would have
point,
worked
was that she was
better.
going
Yeah,
insane in her dream, right? This was her kind of
yeah,
like if she took that third spoonful, then she would be in the coma for the rest of her life, kind of thing, right? Because
yeah,
of the magical space bee venom or
yeah.
whatever,
She
right?
would have been dead. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that honestly, I think the episode I feel like the episode would have been better if she had thought that Fry had died, but the whole episode was them running in that hive, and maybe the honey from the hive was causing them to hallucinate, but
Mm.
it's still kind of
Or
pushing them
like that
forward.
one's in real life honey that actually gives you hallucinogenics.
Could be like that, yeah,
Yeah,
something like
and
this.
that's in like the Himalayas or something like that.
Right, right. So
That would
something
have
like
been not
this.
too bad, but
This episode is,
I think this
yeah,
is perfect for what it does, though. But the problem is, if you watch this episode the first time,
yeah,
like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But since anytime from there on, that magic is going, you already know what happens. There's no
right. There's no mystery to it
consequence.
anymore.
You
Yeah,
have no mystery. Yeah, you
yeah.
already know what's happened, and I think that might be what your issue is,
It's
because you already
both.
know what
It's both.
happens.
Oh, I think it's just it's one of those episodes that you watch it and you're like, oh, okay, so this happened, but I never really need to see it again because it doesn't push the story forward, and none of the characters really, aside from like Fry and Leela's relationship, nothing ever really changes. So I think that's probably what my mindset is. But in any case, I still found scenes funny, and we can talk about that. So yeah, what's your favorite scene, favorite joke, MVP?
Oh, it'd probably be all the stuff at the fake the not real funeral with
That is
Father
funny.
Changstein El
Yeah,
Gamel
that's
going,
one of my
I
favorite
barely knew
scenes too.
Philip,
Yeah,
but as a clergyman, I have no trouble telling his most intimate friends about him.
yeah,
And then Hermes like, soothe us with sweet lies.
right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another joke I do love is Hermes. He burns his time card,
Or the time
and
cards, so
then
it doesn't come back as a
Barbara
zombie.
goes, "Husband, why can't you go anywhere without lighting up something up?" And then Hermes like, "It's an old Jamaican accounting tradition. We burn his time card. This way, his zombie doesn't come back looking for his final paycheck."
Yeah.
Which again, zombies are brought up kind of like, to
A
me,
few
whenever
times,
they bring
yeah,
up zombies,
yeah.
it's not like the brains kind of thing. It's just
No,
they're
just
dead people,
people
because
who came back to life.
technically,
Yeah,
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 technically, Scruffy is zombified somehow.
apparently. Yeah.
Apparently, they
Never
mention
seen
it
it, but
more than
apparently
once.
apparently
Yeah.
Scruffy is a zombie. But that's also it's funny you actually mentioned that because it is Hermes that actually has said, like, I don't even know who this guy is, but it's the episode where we find out Scruffy is apparently a zombie. It is Hermes that says, "Oh, we brought him back as a zombie." So he
Hmm.
did know who he was, but in that episode that's introduced with him, that apparently he doesn't. So yes, I understand that. I think my favorite scenes. I think there's even at the beginning when Leela's so hard bent on like or hell bent on like wanting to wanting to go on this mission, and she's like, "I'm more afraid of like failing."
Failure.
And then Fry's like, "I'm not afraid of that at all." I think
I
that's
think I've had that
yeah,
conversation actually in real life too. It's like
yeah,
I don't like failing. It's like it doesn't really matter to me, kind of
that
thing, right?
doesn't
Like
bother me.
especially when
Yeah,
it's something that I don't really like care
yeah,
about. So like, if
yeah.
it's like a job, like we need to get this done as quick as possible, and we need otherwise we don't do a good job. I was like, eh,
I don't really care. Yeah,
I
exactly.
get paid by the hour.
Yeah, and minimum wage at that. So, yeah, I think I think the professor is my MVP for this though. I think he has like the most jokes that I think. So I do
Oh,
like the no
right.
ordinary
Sorry.
honey. Yeah, go ahead.
The other one, which I love, and it actually kind of made me feel a little sad too, was at the
Oh yeah,
again at the funeral,
right.
right after the like he do a good snoo, which actually in the goof section on the infosphere or .org,
Yeah, that
this Amazonian, she actually didn't screw or snoo Fry, she
right.
was snooed Zap,
Zap,
so
right,
that's technically a goof,
right.
but I'll allow it because it just maybe it happened another time.
And maybe
Um,
actually, yeah, it did. It did. And we can actually prove this with the Hulu run. He goes back. Maybe that's when he slept with her.
Oh, right, there was that weird time,
Yep.
I
With the temp. With the temp. He
right,
actually goes back
yes,
right
yes,
afterwards.
right, right,
We can
right, right.
actually explain this away. But you're right, we don't know what he was doing there, but apparently he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get rest and relaxation." And he goes back to his own planet, but or planet Amazonia or whatever. So
Okay,
yeah,
well,
we'll throw that
that
we'll
right
throw it in
there
that.
that right
Yeah,
there is the only time that the Hulu gets a plus, on my
I
opinion,
agree.
which even then,
I
I
agree.
doubt that that's the actual reason, because, we gotta explain this dream that is
No,
non-canon.
they didn't even
Yeah.
consider it. I guarantee it, yeah.
1 point for us. Good job on catching
Yeah.
that. So then right after they all go, "Yeah," with the snoo, we got the professor going, "Now I am the oldest member of my family."
Exactly, right,
He starts crying on Bender. And
right.
I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so true." Because
Yeah.
Fry is technically like 1,000 years old and
Yep,
whatever, right?
yep.
And the professor's only like 180 or whatever it is.
A
And then
and
right after that, Bender goes, "Whenever I would say kill all humans, I'd always whisper, except one."
right.
And I do love that because it's funny because Bender's always about kill all humans kind of thing, and
Yeah.
the professor's now the oldest in his family. That is just, which actually is a lie
That is
because his
actually
parents are
I
alive.
was just gonna say his parents are alive, so that's actually also a goof, by the way.
Yeah, it's also a bit of a goof.
But I in a way,
It's
it's
in
kinda
his
like
dream sequence. It's in a dream sequence.
exactly, and Leela doesn't actually know that the professor's parents are alive. So, this is actually a lot of even though okay, we just gotta make this clear, the writers didn't know that the professor's parents were still alive anyway.
That was in the Comic
The
Central run,
Comedy
right?
Central run,
Yeah,
but this is also just we can play this off like this is all in Leela's head. So everything in there, including that radiator thing. The only reason
yeah.
the radiator there is because Leela's the only one that knew that Fry made out with the radiator. So that's the only reason we have this. And also that girl that also comes from the future or comes from the past or whatever, and her world was taken over or whatever, and Fry brought her home. Leela was at the hip joint, like that club, when he did that because she was looking for love. I think that's a Bicyclops built for two. So that's
Love Labor's Lost in Space.
was it Love's? Oh, you're right. Sorry, Love's Labor's
Yeah,
Lost in Space. You're right. Yeah, when they meet, I was at Brannigan for the first time, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
right.
So
That's the first season. Oh, yeah, that's the
apparently,
first
like,
season.
because
Wow. Okay.
she doesn't actually, she's just called 21st Century Girl. She doesn't actually have a name.
Right.
I was trying to
Right.
look for it, and then literally there's just right there, 21st Century Girl. I'm like, that's got to be her,
Gotta be her. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
My-
she's actually been had a cameo in a lot of them, but I think she only ever had a speaking role in Love Labors and Lost, which was like the 4th episode of the first season.
That's right.
If
The very
this is
first
still
episode she's
telling it right,
introduced. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I
And she's
also
played by
like.
Lauren Tom, so she couldn't even say anything, which I find hilarious because they just all kind of looked like meh.
Sure.
Except
I
for Petunia, who's played by Tress McNeil, and she probably was on the paycheck. Just go meh for us in Petunia's voice.
yeah.
Meh.
Right. Exactly. The other ones just look at each other and go, yeah, yeah.
So overall, I'd just say the funeral probably had the best bits in
The
it.
funeral scene was really good, and then I after that I still like you were mentioning I mentioned the professor and you mentioned the professor's line about yeah, like being the oldest in my family. There's also a scene but also kind of is a little sad because he even says it, but she says, "Oh, I think Fry Fry exists in some way." He's like, "Well, of course he does. He's out in space and he's like in a coffin and he's a corpse out in space." Oh, I made
Oh, I
myself
feel
cry
so good.
or made myself
Yeah.
sad. Yeah, so I thought that was good. I also like he's gonna do the guillotine thing. And she's like, "Isn't there some easier way to like scan me?" He's like, "Actually, yes, very easy."
Yeah,
He
without
just has the
removing my
machine.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the professor just had a lot of
He
really good
did. He had
lines.
a lot of good jokes and stuff like that.
So
But I think I
I'm
still put Leela. as
You
my
go for Leela?
MVP.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
I put the professor for sure, but yeah, Leela's great. Just yeah, I think obviously this episode is hers. It's just yeah, I don't think it really does much outside of like seeing the inner moments of her mind, and that's cool, but it just doesn't do much for me in terms of the episode or the series. So, any case, that's episode 9 of season 5, The Sting. Is there any more you want to mention here, Mitchell?
No, just it had a lot of fun little jokes in it and stuff like that. It's the way that you talk about it too. It kind of just reminds me how I view the Seymour episode and also the Luck of the Friarish episode. Those
Mm,
two were supposed to have heartfelt and stuff like that,
yeah,
but because of knowing what happened in the future with all the time paradox and stuff like that, they don't matter.
they
They don't
don't
hit
have
as
as much
hard
of
as
an
they
impact
could.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
yeah.
always happens whenever you screw with timelines or do a prequel or
Mhm,
stuff like that. It just kind of muddles it, right?
yeah.
And
If you
yeah,
change the time, something gets muddled in there for sure.
yeah.
Luck of the Friarish, I think, is still poignant enough for it, but you're right. Like the scenes that are in
The
the
only reason
past
why his
really
nephew
don't
got
really make
named after
sense.
him
It's
was
because he
because Fry went
disappeared. I
missing.
know,
Yeah.
and then he didn't actually go missing. I know.
And then the
And then
reason
same
why he
with
didn't bring back
Seymour, and
Seymour is because he
yeah,
had 12 years. It's like,
and
oh,
he
he
and he
had
lived with
like
him for
5 or 6 years without
yeah,
me, and he had a life,
yeah,
which was still with Fry, but not or Lars in this case.
yeah,
So it didn't matter. He
yeah.
didn't die waiting for Fry. So there's no you don't have to be sad about it.
That's right. I guess Lars Fry did actually leave for like 8 years though. So Seymour was waiting for him for that time, but definitely not to the extent that we thought he was. But yeah,
I'd
no,
have to
turns out
rewatch
Fletcher was that.
the movie
Well,
again.
because he goes looking for Lilu, the narwhal, right? And he has to
Yeah,
leave.
yeah.
He doesn't bring Seymour, and I think he's gone for like 4 or 5 or 6 years or something. But any case, point is, you're right. A lot of these things don't hit as much afterwards, and that's unfortunate. But it's also just the way the show works, right? So
Yeah.
any case, yeah, that's where I guess we'll leave it here for the Sting. And yeah, we'll see everybody next time for episode 10 of season 5. One of my favorites, the Farnsworth Parabox. All right.
It's a good one.
So it's a good one. So we'll see everybody next time. Have a good one, Mitchell. And thank you for
I'll
joining me.
try. Yeah, we'll see you later, man. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.